Jack, we've interviewed you a few times. I know in 2011 we interviewed you for Some Guy Who Kills People,
right,
which was an excellent film.
Thanks.
Karen Black.
Yeah.
And then again in 2013, and now we are in the summer of 2016. So in this current time frame, what do you think the challenges are that independent artists face that they didn't when we last spoke to you those 2 times?
Interesting. Well, I don't know. It's interesting. I think the age-old problem or challenge of getting money still is probably the biggest hurdle. I don't see it getting easier to get money. I think raising money for an independent film has always been probably, the bane of every filmmaker's existence. It certainly is for me. I've never been any good at raising money, and I think with crowdfunding, we were talking a little bit about this with crowdfunding. That was an interesting, that seems to be a hopeful thing, in that you now have an avenue to raise money that goes beyond just going to your uncle and saying, can you give me some money for my independent feature? But I think also what you end up having is, just like with everything in the democratization of filmmaking, everybody's doing it. So then if everybody is crowdfunding, then does that make it harder for the individual to get to people, because maybe they've already given money, or it's somehow lost its novelty. I don't know. I think in a different way, raising money is still the hardest thing, it's just in a different form now. But I guess, I'm still hopeful, because I have a project of my own that is definitely so independent that I don't think there was any way in hell I would get typical studio or even mini studio financing. And that's like one film that I would like to try to crowdfund, because it has a political animal rights slant to it, and I think that's appropriate for that. I think probably it's still, maybe the biggest thing is just coming up with something valid to say. That's just because now the process of making a film, and it has been for years now, the process of actually getting a film made is a lot easier if you have the minimum amount of funds in order to do it. Even if you have a couple $1,000s or less, you can make a film, you can finish it. But that still comes down to, okay, so you made a film, and that's an accomplishment, but what is it that you're making? So I guess maybe the storytelling, the importance of storytelling and having an important story, something original, something meaningful, becomes even more important the more you have more movies getting out there, because what's to distinguish your movie? It can't just be, well, look, he got a movie made on a low budget. Now, that in and of itself is not impressive anymore. It has to be, I think, something specific, and it can't be it can't be a scale thing. It can't be, it's not like you can wow them with effects or huge production value. The studios can't even do that. I went to see X-Men, whatever the last X-Men movie, just to get out of the heat. And I was looking at my wife yesterday. I said, do you remember anything of what we just saw? And she was like, she goes, I can't even remember we saw an X-Men movie. This was like the day before. But moreover, when we were in the audience, and it was, your standard summer kind of stuff, and midway through the movie there was the whole, a city was being knocked down, as it is, par for the course now. Every movie's got to have a city being laid waste, and there was no reaction. I've been saying this for years now. There's as well done as the effects were, it's just, what are you showing me that I haven't seen? As effectively done as you're showing me these action sequences, there was absolutely no gasping or reaction. That's what those movies are made for. So that's, even on the $100, $200 million level, I think that's flatlined. And that's with every dollar they have at their disposal, throwing it at it. So I think it comes down to, what is this story that is going to open people's eyes or resonate? It doesn't even have to be, it just has to resonate. That's what I mean. It just has to be something that sticks. I'm curious, what was the last film you saw that like resonated in that way? I'm like hard pressed. I'm trying to think now. Like, geez, what is the last movie?
Well, I saw Louder Than Bombs,
okay,
which was a Norwegian filmmaker's movie, which was not one of these summer blockbusters,
right,
but it stuck with me. I liked that. It reminds me of this YouTube documentary that I watched on Ed Wood,
Right.
So back when the days of like him, before he paired up with Bela Lugosi, he, I guess, went to a chiropractor who said, okay, I'll invest in you, but you have to go to my church and be baptized.
Right, which is in the movie. You know, there's a whole scene in the movie where they get in the pool and Bill Murray gets in the pool and is baptized. Right.
Right. So it seems like that, if you can find that one individual, but then how long does that last, you know? Because if it doesn't make money back.
That's right. I don't think anybody can, you know, I mean, obviously, if you have somebody invest in your movie, you want the movie to be profitable. You want them to get their money back, and hopefully that relationship continues. Then they become your benefactor. It's like you proved you didn't just con the guy. You made a movie. He made his money back. Maybe even made a little bit of a profit. Now he's inclined to give you. But there's no way for any of us at any level to guarantee an investor that they're going to make their money. And I really feel like anybody who invests in filmmaking can't really be investing, or a filmmaker can't really be investing in this idea of making a huge profit. I mean, maybe on a grand scale, if you're getting involved in, you know, huge franchise like Mission Impossible. I was looking at whatever the last Mission Impossible movie was, and you could see that there's like this huge Chinese company that's invested in it, and there's like, you know, it's like conglomerates, international conglomerates. It's like Godfather 3. You know, it's like these things are coming together to make these movies. Yes, of course they're interested in profit, or they insist on profit. But I think somebody who invests in an independent film should be investing in it because for I would say the thrill of investing in something like a motion picture and getting involved and observing that process. And it's funny because I did an interview with Joe Carnahan, you know, director of The Grey and Smoking Aces and so forth, and we were talking, and we both were saying you sort of want to find that. He described it as a unicorn. He says it's this unicorn. You want this, you know, like this dentist in Idaho who's like a unicorn who just like shows up with a big bag of money, and all he wants to do is go to the wrap party, you know, which is like the best, you know, any of us want. You know, certainly I don't want creative strings attached with independent financing. That would be just as bad as, you know, working for a studio. You'd want somebody who goes, I will invest in you as an artist. I'm excited to see what this is about. I'm going to be a producer on the movie, or the executive producer, but I'm not going to give you notes on the cut, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that unicorn. I think we're all probably looking for that, if they exist. I don't know.
Do you think they exist less so now because there are so many people making films, and so it's kind of like this one-trick pony, and it's like, all right, well, they invested a lot of their savings in that, and even though there may be more money behind them, they kind of did that. And
possibly, I mean, if somebody invests in a film, and maybe they don't have unlimited resources, so this is their one sort of venture into, or exploration into this, and if it turns out to be a bust, or, you know, like, you know, some filmmakers there are some people out there who aren't finishers, you know, that don't deliver. And that's going to sour somebody, you know, or the movie turns out to be a total, you know, mess, and so the investor goes, okay, well, I did that, you know, and now I'm not really interested. Maybe the shine has worn off when that happens. I don't know, but I do think it's probably even harder to locate, because there's so many other people fishing. You know, it's like you got a lot of people on the bank all casting into this one pool. But, you know, I don't know. Like, I've never been any good at this kind of, I've never been any good at fundraising or finding. And I think most filmmakers can take heart that that's a difficult process. I mean, I just read the book on Orson Welles', the making of Orson Welles' last film, Other Side of the Wind, and it was actually both, it was encouraging because he made it like a student film. Like, he was making it literally in his backyard, out in alleys with no permits. He was guerrillaing it with this, asking for favors, and this is Orson Welles, and he's making a film like we do at the most, you know, at the most primal level when you don't have anything. And I was like, well, shit, you know, this guy at the end of his career is just finding a way, any way. Even though he if anybody deserved to have infrastructure to support his creativity, he was left, because of so many reasons, just drumming up all this stuff himself. And I said, okay, great, you know. And he always said, you know, he could never find the money. He spent so much time, you know, wining and dining all these people, and then no money would. And you mentioned Ed Wood. There's like a great scene in Tim Burton's Ed Wood where they put this whole song and dance on at the Brown Derby as a backers dinner, and you know they're in tuxedos and all this outpouring of money just so they can get money, and the limos are driving away, and I guess it's Bela Lugosi. How did we do, Eddie? And he's like, didn't make a cent. Didn't make a cent. So I think that's fairly typical. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if anybody does. Send me an email because I want to know how to do it. You know.